Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into Sims Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So today we are going to be doing my July reading wrap up. I am pleased to note that I read 16 books last month, so yay! Woo! Very exciting month. I didn't think I was going to meet my goal. I think my goal was like 18 books, so I'm always absurdly insane. But I didn't think I was going to get anywhere past 10, to be perfectly honest, because for half the month I don't think I had read more than 2 books, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely not going to read more than 10. But then I was having a little bit more free time to like audiobook, and my kids are getting older, so they don't need me as much. So yay, more time to read. So let's just get into it. First up was Silvercloak. I have to say that book took me by surprise. I did receive the ARC from the publisher Del Rey, and I'm super thrilled that I was able to read and devour this book. I mean, just think adult magical realm, kind of like Harry Potter. They all have wands, they all have magic, and what's really, really cool is their magic is internal, and it you can use it all up. It's like your energy, like you can deplete it for a day, and your internal well, as they call it, refills with pain or pleasure, and they each have like a different effect on your magic. Like your magic naturally refills, but you can refill it faster with pain or pleasure. Pain doesn't refill it as quickly. However, it does make spellcasting more potent, whereas it's the opposite with pleasure, because you're suffering more for the magic, basically. And the book follows Saffron. As a child, she saw her parents murdered by the Blood Moon gang. So all her life, she decided, I'm going to be a Silvercloak. Now, the Silvercloaks are the magical police force, and I like how they are structured. They are like an actual police force. And I thought that, wow, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. They function, they investigate as an actual police force would. So I thought that was really cool and really interesting. So the caveat is she's immune to magic, and she shouldn't be immune to magic. However, what's really interesting is the police force decides, you know what? We're gonna use you to infiltrate the Blood Moon. Since you are immune to magic, you will not be beholden to any of their magical rules. So she's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And of course, she does. She succeeds, and lo and behold, she gets to meet Levon. Yeah, Levon. Levan. She gets to meet him, the Kingpin's son, and he's dark and brooding. And you want to know something? You want to know what the cutest part of their whole budding relationship is? They bond over a book fandom to the point where he makes them costumes so that they can cosplay to go to the festival to meet the author and get their book signed. And I'm like, this is super freaking cute. Just like, it was so good. I'm still mad I was not able to snag these Fairy Loot exclusive tears, but I was able to snag the Waterstones exclusive. Phenomenal book, loved it, cannot wait to read the sequel. And this is coming from me, the author's first book I ever read, Society for Soulless Girls. Hate that book with a passion, but her last 2 books are Infinite Fates and Silvercloak. I have been in love. So just goes to show you, authors do deserve second chances. After that, I read The Lost Queen. This is another arc that I received from the publisher. I'm trying to get through a lot of my arcs. It was okay. I got really lost a lot of the time in the novel. So it does deal with Vietnamese mythology, but I wasn't always able to like follow and get lost in the characters, and I wasn't really able to become emotionally attached to the characters. There was just like this wall between me and them. I was just, I liked learning about the Vietnamese mythology. I thought that was really cool. But sometimes once Jolie discovers who she is, and she's going back and forth between her past self and present self, and it was just really hard to follow, especially near the end when she keeps going back and forth between the realms. The transitions weren't clear, and I had found myself rereading sentences and whole paragraphs and whole pages because I'm like, wait, when did we get to the other realm? Like, wait, when did she turn into her dragon version? Wait, what's going on with her sister? It was very confusing and was not easy to follow. And I really had high expectations for this book. Again, it was an arc sent to me from the publisher, but I mean, I couldn't give it more than 3 stars, and it was a struggle to get through it. And this is one of the books, you know, that made me think, oh, I'm not going to read more than 10 books this month because I was struggling to just get through it. After that, I read, Is That an Aura of Wild Magic Engulfing You, or Are You Just Pleased to See Me? This was a book personally sent to me by the author himself, and I DNF'd this book. There was just very little world building. I couldn't understand the world that we were in, or the magic or the fantasy in the world. I was very confused with every time a character was introduced, just the dialogue. I would just be sitting there reading it. I'm like, wait, who's talking right now? I just struggled with it to the point where I thought this was going to be like a breeze for me to read. I'm like, oh, I could read this book in a day. I struggled to get through the 50 pages. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on in this book right now. And I reread the first chapter 3 times. So I really hate DNFing books, especially when the author takes the time to send them to me so that I can read and review them. It was not for me. It was very hard for me to follow. It was very hard for me to get into the world. It was just a struggle. And yeah, it breaks my heart that I had to put it on my DNF bio. After that, I read The Dryad Storm. This was probably my highest anticipated read by Laurie Forest because it's the end. It is the end of the Black Witch Chronicles. Every single book of hers I have rated at least a 4 or 5 star. This one was a 3. I really felt like it could have been split into 2 books. The prologue was the first quarter of the book. And I'm sitting there reading. I'm like, okay, when are we going to see Lauren? What's going on? I understand the purpose for the prologue because there are a lot of characters in this book. It's kind of like George R. R. Martin that way, where you have a bunch of different characters and you have to remember all of their names. So this is my best advice to anyone who's reading the Black Witch Chronicles. Read the series together. Don't take a break. Just go straight from book 1 to book 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just read them together. That way you have an idea of the world and the characters and the rebellion. There were times I was just like, wait, who's this character again? Even though I just read the previous book not too long ago. Just a few months ago. But I'm just like, wait, who's this character again? And like, wait, what's going on? It was just the first half of the book was a struggle. And I did audiobook it. So when I tell you that first half of the book was a struggle, even for the audiobook, I don't know if I would have been able to do it physically. And again, every single other book of hers I have devoured. I loved books 1 through 4. Black Witch, Iron Flower, Shadow Wand, Demon Tide. Those are all phenomenal books. This one I felt like it dragged. Even though there was a lot happening, even though it was like action-packed and we're finally coming to the end And maybe that was my problem. I just had such high expectations from it. It was just, it could have been split into 2 books. It definitely could have. I felt like it really could have. But I understand, you know, the author, she just, and the publisher, they probably just want to like wrap it up. But it was just, it felt very dense. It felt like there was a lot happening. And there was a whole lot happening. But it felt like it dragged, and just the fact that the prologue is the first quarter of the book, I'm just like, oh my god, that was just the prologue? That was rough. And I love chunky books. I mean, I really love books that are just extensive and just have so much world building. I mean, I love not Lord of the Rings. I mean, I do love Lord of the Rings. Also has a bunch of characters. But, I love the Game of Thrones book series. I physically read all of those without any issue. But I think it would have behooved me to read the whole series together. You know, it's just come so far since that first book. And it's really quite good. And I love the message. And I love how Lori, you know, she puts this message into all of her books. You know, let's just end bigotry and racism and in all forms. You know, let's just accept everyone for all their different faiths. Like, yes, they're all going to be different, but we shouldn't hate because our faiths and our backgrounds are different. And then there's also this theme of tolerance, you know, tolerance, acceptance, and love. Those are big themes in the series as a whole. And I love the message, and I love how all of the characters in some shape or form are experiencing the intolerance of the other subcultures in the book, because there are a lot of different cultures. So it is an extensive world, and I love the world building. I went on Google each time just so I can refresh myself, like, what does this character look like again, for character artwork. But it's also about environmentalism as well. There's a theme of environmentalism in the book. So it's a very well thought out book. I just think this book would have benefited being 2 more books. You know, they could have split this book into 2 more. You know, there are so many points in the book where I'm like, oh, this is a good stopping point. It's a cliffhanger. And then I think that would have been better. Because it was just like a lot happening, so it was like exhausting. And again, audiobooked it. So, whew, loved it, but I can't give it more than 3 stars. After that, I read Bound by Stars. This was a arc sent to me by Entangled Teen. Once again, thank you so much for this book. Loved it. Loved it. It's a Titanic-inspired space opera for a young adult, and it is gender bent. So you have Jupiter. He is our artist, but he is also part of the hierarchy. He is part of the Big Six. They're like companies, you know. So instead of royalty, you've got like the 6 companies that terraformed and are responsible for life on Mars. So they're kind of like royalty. Then you have Wesley. It's funny, when I first started reading the book and I read that her name was Wesley, I just conjured up Wesley from TNG. So it's just like, wait, I thought one of these characters was supposed to be a girl. And then I had to read back, I'm like, got it. Yeah, they did introduce her as a girl. I just missed that because my brain just went instantly to Star Trek. Wesley Crusher, here to save the day. So, she's a woman of STEM. She won a robotics competition, and that is why she gets to be aboard the Boundless, the fastest ship in space. It's going to take them from Earth to Mars. The introduction of the ship, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's totally Titanic vibes right there. Something bad's going to happen. It was really, really good. I love the romance, but I love even more just like the world building, because it's not just about the romance. It's also about the politics, you know, the hierarchy, the system of Elysium, the people on Mars, controlling how Earthers are supposed to live and treating them like they're subclass citizens, you know? So then you have the revolutionary group that's causing chaos on the boundless called EFE, Earth for Earthers. That was just like an instant click for me. They're just like EFE, and I'm like, EFE, what could that possibly stand for? I'm like, it's gonna be Earth for Earthers, just based on the context of what's been happening in the book so far. And I was right, and I was just like, yes, go me. Context clues. So you have the revolutionary subplot in the story, you have the classism subplot in the story, all while you're dealing with the romance and the space itself, and even robotics. So I think it was a really, really good read. It was fast-paced. I devoured it again. So good. So good. I didn't want to put it down, and when it was done reading, I'm like, oh, this was so good. Especially the ending. I was just like, yay, happy ending. No Jack and Rose ending here. They do get a happy ending. But it keeps you guessing. I followed that up with A Curse Carved in Bone. This was the Kiss and Tell book club pick that I am a part of occasionally. Hosted by BFF and work wife Gina. So they did the first book, what was it, last year I think it was? When it came out, Fate, Ink, and Blood. So I read this one, and you know what? I liked it more than I did Fate, Ink, and Blood. I think I liked it more, even though she was very whiny. My other BFF, Jeff, he did point that out. He's like, she's so whiny early on. She is. Her feelings are valid, which is why I think I was okay with it. But she was very whiny. It's like, okay, all right, we get it. You're mad. He lied to you. He betrayed you. We get it. We understand. Let's move on. Whereas, my issue in the first book was she was just like constantly horny for him. And I'm just like, oh my God, get on with it already. So that just shows you my kind of pet peeves. Whereas in this book, her whininess didn't really annoy me so much. Her horniness did annoy me in the first book. That tells you the type of reader I am. But I'm like, oh wow, Jeff, yeah, you do have a point. That was kind of annoying. But it was something that was so back burner for me that I didn't even think about. I think I like the pacing more as well. I think the pacing was so well done because now you have Bjorn's point of view as well in this one. And she's really going into using her power from hell even more so, and it's so cool. And I thought that was rocking. It was so cool just to see her lean more into that dark power, and to be a true shield maiden. That was phenomenal. Just her journey into the underworld was so well done. I really do think that she had a lot of character growth in this novel. I think that's another issue why I liked it more, and why I didn't like the other one so much, because her character development in the last one, again, she was like Miss Horny Girl all the time. This one, yeah, she's whiny, but she reevaluates, she looks at things, and then she kind of grows for that later half of the book. And I'm like, yes, character development. We love that. Also, lots of plot twists I didn't see coming. The Loki plot twist, did not see that coming at all. That caught me off guard. So that was pretty cool. So honestly, I loved it. I followed that up with Never Thought I'd End Up Here. This was another arc from the publisher. This is the second book by this author that I'm reading. Her first book, I read it in a day. Not her first book. Her previous book, I read that book in a day. My coworker Gina, she's like, wow, you read that in a day. I'm like, yeah. This one I probably could have read in a day as well. It was captivating. I liked the relatability of the characterization. I think that's what Liang does very well. She makes her characters relatable. The romance aspect of the novel in this one wasn't as, I think, well done as the previous book, but it still kind of made sense for the context of the story. She's budding with Cyrus, who's got her expelled, but he didn't intentionally try to get her expelled from school. It was just like a situation that blew way out of proportion. So with that, she, reinvented herself from mousy nerdy girl into, I'm going to be a model. But she's discovered in the model life, she's like, I kind of hate this. But she's been trying to live for other people's expectations of what she should do with her life, so she doesn't even know what her own passions are. So it's a self-journey, exploration for her, and I think that was really well done. The self-exploration, she's reconnecting with herself, with the girl she was before, she got expelled, and before she decided to reinvent herself. She reconnects with who she is on the inside, that girl who she didn't think had friends, or, that girl who's picked on, but that girl who she was happy being on the inside. She reconnects with that version of herself while she's also reconnecting with her culture. So I think it's a very emotional story. It's a really one, coming of age, self-discovery, and that's why I liked it, because it does that, it does delve into, like, who are we really? Are we living for ourselves and our own happiness, or are we living just so that we can live off of other people's expectations of us? These people don't really like me for who I am on the inside. Are they really my friends? Kind of thing. So it's really, really relatable. I think a lot of young people, or people who are pretending to be something they're not and are kind of unhappy with their lives, I think it's going to be something that they will find relatable. Another arc that I read was The Enemy's Daughter by Melissa Poet. I devoured this book in a day. I really did. It's a retelling of Tristan and Isolde. I love Tristan and Isolde. This one has a happy ending though. So Isadora, and actually, before I start there, so not only is this a Tristan and Isolde retelling, it is also one that takes place in a dystopian society. So 37 years after the world ended. Her father is chief of all 5 of the clans, right? And their society is very much, the women don't do anything other than cook and clean and treat wounds, right? It's the men who do everything. They're the hunters and they're the gatherers, and they will protect the clans from Kingsland, the brutal, commune society that is wreaking havoc on them. Or so she thinks. Captured by her very own Tristan, and she becomes part of the Kingsland society and discovers everything she thought she knew is a lie. So, while this is a dystopian sci-fi book, it does have an element of fantasy in it that I think is really cool. So, when the bombs dropped, blah, 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 everything became radioactive, right? In this pretty much untouched town of Kingsland, the first settlers there, something happened to them that changed them internally. They can form telepathic trying to think. What word? Telepathic connections with their significant other. So the moment they get married and the moment they do a little ritual, like, they are attuned to each other's pain, to each other's emotions, to each other's thoughts and memories. So she's injured. The only way to save her is for Tristan to take some of her pain. So they get married, and she's just like, I only married you to save my own life. And he's like, I understand that, but now you're kind of trapped here. Sorry. He's not sorry. He's been in love with her. Kingsland has been watching her colony since she was a kid. He's been in love with her for forever, and she slowly begins to fall in love with him. It's a single POV novel, so you're just getting her perspective of everything. But it's really, really interesting to see how the story evolves and to see how the plot twists come to life. And just to see that ending, I was just like, woo! Go Tristan and Isolde. Y'all save the day. I think it was a really, really good read. It's dystopian, it has a splash of fantasy into it, and it's a retelling of Tristan and Isolde. I mean, come on. How can you pass that up? I followed that up with The Curse for the Homesick. Again, another arc from the publisher. You see, I'm trying to get through a lot of my arcs here. My pile's like this big. Actually, it might be. It's bigger than this on this screen. I read A Curse for the Homesick, another arc. I like this one more than I thought I would. I was actually surprised when I received this book in the mail. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I have no idea what this is. It's by HarperCollins Christian imprint, which was another shocker to me. I was just like, huh, interesting. It takes place on, you know, a mythical island off the shores of Scotland, I believe, and 3 women at a time. It's like a generational curse thing that began way, way back, you know. It was more of a protection for the islands. It's called the Skeld Curse, and it has like a Medusa effect. So, every generation, 3 women are affected with the Skeld Curse. What it is anyone they look at is petrified and dies. Again, the Medusa curse, basically. Tess wants nothing to do with this island because her mother got affected with the Skeld Curse and she forgot to check her reflection in the morning because you're marked. You get like a physical mark when you are marked by the curse. You know, you can wake up with it. She left the house, and what happened? She accidentally killed her classmate Soren's parents. And then, you know, she was sentenced to prison for 3 months because that's how long the Skeld Curse affects you. It affects you for 3 months. And then her mom left. She's just like, I just have to leave, you know? What's really interesting is the whole world knows about this Skeld Curse thing, so it's a world-renowned thing. Her mother even wrote a book about it, became famous for the book about it. So, her island is a tourist trap. You know, people are like, oh, yay, the Skeld Curse. Tess wants nothing to do with it. She's like, this curse kills people, innocent people, who may accidentally look at us. Like, I don't want this, especially because she falls in love with Soren. Soren's basically her soulmate. They love each other, but they shouldn't love each other. Her mother killed his parents, leaving him an orphan. But they do love each other. They form quite a bond, and it's a non-linear timeline. You know, it goes back and forth between past and present. And it's exploring their relationship and the struggles and the up and downs of it, and how she's like, I can't live on this island. And it's mostly because she does not want to turn into her mother and accidentally hurt people. Like Soren, for example. She doesn't want to hurt anyone that she loves. So she just tries to avoid coming home to the island. She doesn't want to accidentally kill her father. She doesn't want to kill the boy she loves. She doesn't want to kill anyone. And she can't understand why he does not want to leave the island. She's like, you should hate this island and the curse and everything. And he's like, you're right, I should, but I don't. This is my home, you know? And deep down, she feels the same way. She's like, yeah, this is my home too. Like, I don't want to leave it. Like, all the people I love are here. So, it's an emotional journey. I really, really liked it. I was really shocked. I read the synopsis in the back. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this book. I'm like, it was sent to me. I got to give it a shot. Gave it a shot. I'm like, wow, this is actually really, really good. And it's like kind of out of my comfort zone of books that I would normally pick up. But this is why I like picking up books outside of my comfort zone every now and again. Because then I discover something new that I probably wouldn't have on my own. So thank you, HarperCollins, for sending me a book I did not even know existed or was coming out. Not even on my radar. Because now I have read something that I really thoroughly enjoyed. So after that, I read Salvacíon by Sandra Proudman, and this is what I have to say. Someone needs to turn this book into a telenovela. Univision, someone. Y'all need to turn this book into a telenovela. I love this book. However, that being said, I do think there were some things that can be explored even more. I love the book. I loved how authentic it felt, how the Spanish was kind of thrown in there sporadically. You know, I didn't even register the Spanish half the time when I was reading it. In the beginning I did. My friend Gina, she's like, well, it felt forced to me. Or it's for me. I'm like, I didn't even register that it was Spanish. I'm like, oh, that's Spanish. Oh, there's Spanish. And the more I was reading, the more I just didn't even register. It's so funny. When I'm at work, if a customer talks to me in Spanish, I'm like deer in the headlights and I know nothing. However, if I'm reading it, I suddenly know Spanish. And when I'm at a Mexican restaurant, it's like, oh, I know Spanish all of a sudden. Like, ¿qué? Doesn't make any sense. You know? But I have to do practice. I do have to practice my Spanish a little bit more. So reading this book, I think, helped. I just think the reason why I think this book would make such a good telenovela is because there's a lot in the book that I think wasn't just lived up to its full potential. Like the romance between Lola and Alejandro, the backstory for Hernandez, our villain. I think those are two great aspects of the novel that just weren't developed enough in the book itself. Don't get me wrong, I love the book, and I think the pacing was well done. I like the message of land and ownership of land and respecting of the land. But because you have the natives, and then you have the Yankees, and then you have, the Mexicans who are just like, well, we lost Alta California, and then you have Dora. She's like, well, to be fair, yes, our land was stolen from us, from the Yankees, but it wasn't our land to begin with. We stole it from the indigenous people. So I'm just like, yes, please, recognition. Alta California. So I think it was really, really interesting to read. I love the writing style. I love the storytelling. I just think that the romance between Lola and Alejandro could have been developed way more. And I think if it's turned into a telenovela, it really will be developed more and fleshed out a little bit more. And Hernandez as a villain, I would love to see more in his backstory. And I would love to see more of that Native American, because I am part Native American on my grandfather's side. I think seeing the relationship between the indigenous people and the Mexicanos, I think seeing that develop a little bit more would be something refreshing to see. So, someone pick this book up for a telenovela, por favor. After that, for my Fantasy Finance Book Club, I'm the host of it at Barnes & Noble at Fort Lauderdale. We read Red Rising. Phenomenal. I just want to move it up on books 2 and 3 up on my CBR because this book was so good. It's so easy to read. It's like Hunger Games with like Roman themes in there. The society, the world building, just that sci-fi aspect of the book was so well done. I absolutely loved it. I think it was such a great book. I just can't get enough of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I really can't. I think it was an excellent book. I understand the hype. I understand the hype for Red Rising and Pierce Brown now. I understand. It is well deserved. I just think it was such a well done and well written novel. I love the pacing. I love the readability of it. I love the plot twist. Some of those plot twists I did not see coming, and I was just like, what? And then I will say this, Cassius and Darrow, for people who watched Smallville, their whole relationship was that romance between Lex and Clark. Bromance between Lex and Clark that still breaks my heart. I just want them to go back to being friends, even though I know it's not going to happen. But yeah, Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, their performance, made me so invested. But that's what Cassius and Darrow reminded me of, like their bromance. That's what they reminded me of. So when it broke, I was just like, oh, my heart. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. I already want to read Golden Sun and Morningstar like right now. I want to read them right now. We'll see if I get to them by the end of the year. They're on my library cart. That's important. They're not in my closet, they're not on the shelf, they are on my library cart, and that is my current TBR. So we shall see. After that, I read Sister of the South. That was the last and final book of Del Toro's quest that I read to my son. He loved it. What can I say? If you can get your hands on Del Toro's quest, pick it up. It's a great read for young readers who are getting into reading. It's action-packed, it's full of adventure and fantasy, and this is the third series, and it's full of dragons. So well done. I cannot stress it enough. It's a great read for kids, and I think it has personally aged well because I read it as a kid. My son loved it. My son was excited for it. So yeah, if you can get yourself a used copy, if you have a kid and you're like trying to get them into reading, I think this is going to be one of those books for you. After that, I read The Stone Witch of Florence, another really, really good book that kind of surprised me. Another arc from the publisher. I don't always read historical fiction. There's a reason. It's because sometimes it can seem very dry, you know, just tone-wise. It can just seem like very dry, like it drags out. In this case, this book did not. I loved the pacing. I loved the tone of it. There was a sense of modernity to the tone of the novel that kind of captured my attention, and it made me invested in the characters and the characterization. And Ginevra, it's Italian. You know, she's like a witch, but not really. She can harness the magical properties of gemstones for healing purposes. I think that that's really, really cool. So she's exiled from Italy, from, you know, her little town in Italy. But then the Catholic Church is just like, wait, we're having trouble with the Black Plague here. Takes place in 1348. They call her back, and she's just like, you guys excommunicated me and scarred me. Well, why should I help you? They're like, we'll give you whatever you want. She's like, okay, I want to be accepted into the medical field. And like, well, she's like, take it or leave it. So they take it. This is what I mean by like the modernity, like the sassiness of it, her tone. However, she's not called to cure the plague. Instead, she's called to investigate someone stealing the relics that protect the people, you know, these religious relics. And in doing so, she has to work with the Inquisitor. Now, the romance, the budding friendship between her and the Inquisitor, I absolutely adored it. Just their whole relationship and the growth of it. Not to mention her relationship with another character whose name, I forgot to write down my notes, but woman of high society, whose husband abandons her when she gets sick. And, you know, Ginevra, she's just like, hello? Oh my god, sick person. Let me fix her and heal her. So she takes care of her. And they become besties. I'm like, yay, besties. Their friendship is very sweet and wholesome. And I love the character growth for her friend as well. She's like, I'm going to start investigating things on the slide. And help out my new friend who saved my life. It's very cute. It's wholesome. It's fast-paced. I love the tone of it. I love the language. I don't think it felt dry at all. It was very, you know, fun. It was fun to read. And it was short and it was sweet. After that, I read Time After Time, another arc sent to me from the publisher. We see a theme. Excellent book. It's in dual timeline. It is a sapphic romance, and I like the idea of reincarnation because you have Patricia and Elizabeth, and then Libby and Tish. Libby and Tish are the reincarnation of Elizabeth and Patricia. Like, so you, the reader, know that they are the reincarnation of them. However, the characters themselves do not know. So you just want these two girls to get back together so that they can relive their romance that ended in tragedy in the roaring 20s. So you're reading about their romance, and you're reading about their romance. But you want to know what stuck out to me the most? Wasn't even the romance, which I do think were very emotive. I think both timelines were very emotive and stuck with me. And they were both really, really interesting to read, and I was emotionally invested. However, here is the one that got me. Honey Harper. Side character. She's like the frenemy of Elizabeth. There's like a moment near the end where her personality just shifts. And she just becomes the ultimate loyal, sweethearted best friend to Elizabeth. And just that shift for her character, and I think that speaks volumes for the author's ability to create emotion and make you invested in the character. That shift made me go from hating her to loving her as a character. Because she becomes Elizabeth's best friend and advocate, not just in their youth, but throughout their entire life together. And it's just a few scenes that you see that in it at the end, but they stuck with me the most. And I think that just speaks volumes of the author's ability to create emotion and good characterization. And honestly, it really was such a well done novel. I would read it again, and it's definitely one I would recommend. And finally, Sailor Moon Eternal Volume 8. What can I say that I haven't said before? I love it. Once again, reading the manga after rewatching both the 90s and the new anime, including the new anime movies, gives me a deeper appreciation, not just of the new anime, but also of the 90s. I like the new one because it's faster and has less filler, so there's a stronger emotional impact for me, because sometimes when I was rewatching the 90s, I'm like, oh my god, who's the monster of the week this time? And sometimes the dialogue was just like, cringy. Especially now that they've redubbed it. But here's what I will say. This volume, once it ended, I mean, the artwork is phenomenal. But once it ended, the arc, the Dead Moon Circus arc, it has a bunch of like mini stories at the end, following different characters. And as I'm reading them, I'm like, oh, you can definitely see how these mini stories inspired a lot of the filler episodes of the 90s anime, which I love, grew up with it, love it, dear to my heart. But I think after rereading the manga, after rewatching all of it, I just like the remake that is closer to the manga a little bit more. And I appreciate, especially in the later arcs, the art style and the art direction. So yeah, those were the 16 books. I'm so sorry this video was so long. 16 books. Thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.